Alright, let's talk about Transylvania. Yes, Transylvania. The one you picture when you hear a sudden creak in your floorboards at 3 a.m. For most Americans, Transylvania is basically Dracula's spooky holiday home. A place filled with bats, brooding counts, and an alarming lack of decent dental plans. It's the land where garlic is less a seasoning and more a home security system. You think you know Transylvania? Well, congratulations. You've been wonderfully, spectacularly, and hilariously misled. Think of it this way. Associating Transylvania solely with Dracula is like saying America is only about Florida Man. Transylvania is a real place, with real people. People who, believe it or not, don't all sleep in coffins. Shocking, I know. The truth is, Transylvania is a stunningly beautiful, historically rich, and culturally fascinating corner of Romania. It's got more charm than a Disney prince and more history than your grandpa's attic. Imagine rolling hills, medieval towns that look like they've been plucked from a fairy tale, and food that will make you question every diet you've ever been on. So yes, we'll acknowledge the caped elephant in the room, but then we're moving on because Transylvania deserves better. We're diving headfirst into the real Transylvania, the one with fewer bats and more, well, actual culture. Now history. Every place has it. Some places just have of it. And Transylvania is practically drowning in the stuff. It's like that one relative who has a story for everything, and each story is longer and more convoluted than the last. We're talking layers upon layers of conquests, kingdoms, and cultural clashes. It's a historical lasagna, if you will, and frankly a bit messy, but delicious. In a historical sense, of course. It all started way back with the Dacians. Tough folks, those Dacians. They were minding their own business when the Romans showed up. Classic Romans, always expanding, always building roads, always leaving behind impressive ruins for future tourists to photograph. They called the place Dacia, and for a while it was all very Roman. Think togas, Latin, and probably some very early forms of bureaucratic inefficiency. Then came the so-called migration period, which is a polite way of saying everyone and their barbarian horde decided to move through. Goths, Huns, Avars, Slavs, it was a historical free-for-all. Fast forward through a few more centuries of general medieval excitement. Think knights, sieges, and probably a lot of mud. And Transylvania found itself in a rather tricky geopolitical neighborhood. The Ottoman Empire was expanding, and Transylvania was right there on the doorstep, like an inconveniently placed welcome mat. This led to a period of, shall we say, interactions. There were battles, alliances, betrayals, basically a live-action version of a particularly dramatic board game, but with actual pointy sticks and much higher stakes. It was a time of legendary figures, including one Vlad the Impaler. Yes, Vlad. For a while, Transylvania enjoyed a period as an autonomous principality under Ottoman suzerainty. This sounds fancy, and it sort of was. It meant they had a degree of independence but still had to pay tribute to the Sultan. Think of it as having a very powerful, very demanding landlord who occasionally shows up to remind you who's boss. This era saw a flourishing of culture and a complex dance of diplomacy. Transylvanian princes became adept at playing powerful empires off against each other. It was like a high-stakes poker game, but instead of chips they were betting with entire regions. And probably people's lives. So, who actually lives in Transylvania when they're not busy fending off vampire-obsessed tourists? Well, it's a delightful hodgepodge, a human goulash if you will. For centuries this region has been home to Romanians, Hungarians, and Germans, specifically the Transylvanian Saxons we mentioned earlier. Each group brought its own traditions, languages, and crucially, recipes for delicious, artery-clogging foods. It's like a potluck dinner where everyone secretly thinks their dish is the best, and they're all probably right. This coexistence hasn't always been a smooth, Disney-esque sing-along, mind you. Section 5, Sigisawara, pretty, pointy, and proudly over-Dracula'd. Ah, Sigisawara. If Transylvania had a poster child for medieval town that looks exactly how you'd imagine a medieval town should look, Sigisawara would be it. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which basically means it's officially too pretty to mess with. Think cobblestone streets so narrow you'll question your life choices after a large lunch. Think colorful, centuries-old houses leaning against each other like tipsy old friends. And of course, think towers. Lots and lots of towers. Because medieval people were apparently obsessed with building tall, pointy things. The centerpiece is the clock tower, a magnificent structure that not only tells time but also features little wooden figures that do a jaunty mechanical dance. It's adorable. And slightly creepy, like a cuckoo clock designed by Tim Burton. You can climb it, of course, for panoramic views of the citadel and the surrounding countryside. Just be prepared for stairs. So many stairs. Medieval architects weren't big on elevators, surprisingly. From the top, you can gaze down upon the red-tiled roofs and imagine yourself a medieval lord surveying your domain, or more likely you'll just be trying to catch your breath. Section 6, Brasov and Cluj-Napoca, cities that actually have Wi-Fi. Beyond the perfectly preserved medieval bubbles, Transylvania also boasts some rather lively cities. Take Brasov, for instance. Nestled at the foot of the Carpathian Mountains, Brasov is like that cool, effortlessly charming friend everyone wants to hang out with. It's got a stunning main square Piața Sfatului, lined with colorful Baroque buildings and bustling cafes, perfect for people watching and pretending you understand the local gossip. There's even a Hollywood-style Brasov sign on Tampa Mountain overlooking the city, just in case you forget where you are. Brasov manages to blend its rich history with a modern, vibrant energy. You can wander down Stratosphori, one of the narrowest streets in Europe, so narrow you might have to walk sideways if you've indulged in too much Transylvanian cuisine. The Black Church, a massive Gothic cathedral, dominates the skyline, its name a stark reminder of a great fire that once blackened its walls. It's imposing, impressive, and makes you feel suitably small and insignificant, in a good way mostly. Brasov is also a great base for exploring nearby attractions like, Castle, but we're not talking about Castle yet. Section 7, castles that aren't entirely about that one guy. Alright, castles. Transylvania has them, lots of them. And while one particular castle tends to hog all the limelight like a narcissistic vampire at a blood drive, there are other, equally impressive and arguably less overhyped fortresses to explore. Let's be honest, the Dracula tourism machine is strong, but we're trying to look beyond that, remember? So, let's talk about some castles that might not feature quite as prominently on novelty t-shirts but are absolutely worth your time. These are places where history happened, where kings and queens actually lived, and where the architecture will make your jaw drop. First up, Palace Castle. Okay, technically it's just outside Transylvania proper, in Sinaia, but it's so magnificent and so often part of a Transylvanian itinerary that we're including it. Palace is less a grim medieval fortress and more a fairy tale palace. Built in the late 19th century for King Carol I, it's a lavish, opulent display of German Renaissance architecture, with over 160 rooms, each decorated in a different style. It's like someone gave a king an unlimited budget and a copy of Architectural Digest Bling Edition. It even had electricity and central heating from the get-go. Fancy. Section 8, Nature, where bears are less annoying than tourists. Beyond the charming towns and imposing castles, Transylvania offers something else: spectacular, untamed nature. We're talking the Carpathian Mountains, a vast, rugged range that forms a sort of natural amphitheater around the Transylvanian plateau. If you're the outdoorsy type, or even just someone who appreciates a good view that doesn't involve a gift shop, this is your playground. Think dense forests, alpine meadows bursting with wildflowers, and air so fresh it'll make your city-dwelling lungs wonder what they've been missing all these years. It's proper, get-your-boots-muddy nature. Hiking opportunities abound, from gentle strolls through foothills to challenging treks up craggy peaks. The Piatra Craiului National Park, for example, offers stunning limestone ridges and diverse wildlife. And yes, when we say wildlife, we mean it. Transylvania is home to one of Europe's largest populations of brown bears. So while you're admiring the scenery, keep an eye out. Section 9, Eat, Drink, and Loosen Your Belt, Transylvanian Feasts. Alright, let's talk about the most important part of any trip, the food. And Transylvanian food, my friends, is not for the faint of heart, or the small of appetite. This is hearty, stick-to-your-ribs cuisine, born from a history of farming, cold winters, and a general appreciation for things that taste good. Forget your kale smoothies and quinoa bowls. Here, we embrace pork, we celebrate sour cream. We believe that soup is a perfectly acceptable main course, especially if it's kiorba, a tangy, sour soup that comes in countless delicious varieties. You'll need to pace yourself, or just buy bigger pants. One of the quintessential Transylvanian dishes you absolutely must try is sarmale. These are cabbage rolls stuffed with minced meat, usually pork, sometimes beef or a mix, and rice, slow-cooked in a tomato-based sauce, often with smoked bacon or ribs thrown in for good measure. They are, quite simply, divine, served with a generous dollop of sour cream and a side of mamalaga, polenta, It's the kind of comfort food that makes you feel like you're getting a warm hug from a Romanian grandmother, even if you've never met one. Another staple is maisi, or mitite grilled caseless sausages bursting with garlic and spices, perfect with mustard and a cold beer. And speaking of drinks, Transylvania won't leave you thirsty.